Just in time for your weekly most comprehensive look at the world of business and economics. Welcome, this is Business Redefined. I am Julian Amboko, and tonight we are focusing on pump prices. Now, every 14th of the month, we all wait for the new guidelines from the market regulator, the Energy, Petroleum and Regulatory Authority, in terms of the ceiling prices of various petroleum products. We all have views about this now. Tonight, we are joined by Engineer Edward Kinyua, who is the Director of Petroleum and Gas at EPRA. Welcome on set.
Thank you, Julian.
It's been 10 years since we had the energy petroleum pricing regulations come into force. And when you look back at this decade, how has the ceiling set played out for this market in terms of pricing of petroleum products?
Well, it has worked pretty well for the country because, one, we use the open tender system to import petroleum products. And the petroleum products that we import through the tender system are three of them. Here we have super petrol, we have diesel, and we have dual-purpose kerosene. Of course, dual-purpose kerosene is what constitutes Jet A1 and illuminating kerosene, the one we use in our homes. Basically, we have a system whereby we do a common importation for the country, and we enjoy economies of scale in terms of freight costs. And of course, we have a competitive process where the 93 oil marketing companies that we have compete to win a particular tender. So you can imagine it's a cutthroat competition. And of course, that has made this country one of the most competitive in terms of prices in the region. This system has worked perfectly well, and I know our neighbors, the Republic of Tanzania, has come and copied this system. Now they have what we call a bulk procurement system, a BPS, which is a mirror of the OTS.
Let me just hold you there, Engineer. If you speak to many Kenyans out here, they'll hold the view that the prices in the domestic market are not reflective of the prices in the international market, especially when we are seeing prices subdued in the global markets. And at the market here locally, we don't seem to feel that similar decline by way of margins. Does this view hold water from where you sit?
No, it doesn't hold water, Julian, because as a regulator, I can tell you for sure, if I look at the month of February 2020, and the month of, for example, May for super petrol, and the month of June for diesel, and the month of July for kerosene, we've dropped prices between 30 to 40 shillings. And this was in response to the decline in prices in the global market. What we have is that the moment prices decline in the global market, it takes a period of 30 to 45 days for it to be reflected in the local pump price because of the lag. There's a lag between the day we place an order, for example, when someone wins a bid in the OTS, and the day that liter is delivered at Mombasa. It takes a period of 30 to 45 days. So,
welcome back to Business Redefined. Tonight we are discussing the subject of pump prices and the setting of the ceiling by the market regulator, and we are privileged to have on set Engineer Edward Kinyua, the Director of Petroleum and Gas at the Energy, Petroleum and Regulatory Authority. If you look at global prices in terms of retail prices, you realize there's a bit of divergence between Kenya and markets like Tanzania. And whereas we do appreciate that tax and regulatory fees might be a key contributor of the pricing in Kenya, do you feel that the sourcing of this product could also be contributing significantly to this divergence?
I think in terms of price methodologies, that is one of the other key factors that might affect the prices that you observe in Kenya and Tanzania. One, of course, you have mentioned the issue of taxes, whereby our taxes have some disparity, and that depends from regime, from country to country. In terms of the pricing methodology, for example, you find Tanzania uses the prices for month minus 2. When they are doing their computation for maybe a monthly price X, they use that month X minus 2. So, and Kenya uses X minus 1. So you find, like, in terms of when prices are going up, the prices in Tanzania will lag more before they increase, unlike in Kenya, because our system, the way we have looked at it, it's more cost reflective. Every 30 days you bring a ship. So, and that ship comes with a new price, and that's why we revise the price on a monthly basis. Of course, Tanzania has that process of where they have a month minus 2, And well, it seems to be working for them, but I'm sure they may also be benchmarking elsewhere. Like the way they did with the OTS with us, probably they may look in future of changing, how to change that price to make it as more cost reflective as possible.
Talking about fuel adulteration, this was quite a challenge in this market. And I remember 2 years ago in the financial year, the budget, there was even a bump up in excise duty on a particular product just to try and address this. How do we stand as far as this is concerned?
We are doing very well. The compliance rate as we speak today is 99.66%. And this is a great plus for this country in terms of assuring the quality of products that we are using here locally, and also assuring our biggest neighbors, that is Uganda, and of course the other markets like DR Congo and Rwanda. In terms of the tax that was put, it is the anti-adulteration levy that was put on kerosene. And of course, you realize before September 2018, the difference between the price of kerosene and diesel was almost 18 to 20 shillings. And of course, that was the biggest incentive to the people who undertaking that adulteration. When the anti-adulteration levy was put, the activity of adulteration has almost flattened out, and we are happy. Although as a regulator, we continue marking all export products with a unique marker, so that when you try to dump export products in the market, we are able to monitor and test. We also mark kerosene with another marker, which is not visible to the normal eye. And these markers are tested, they are chemically tested. They cannot affect the specifications of the product, and they can also they cannot also affect the consumers.
Some of these people who have been adversely affected by this will tell you that in their view, the market regulator makes that process overly lengthy, and so it takes a long time before you give feedback to them to indicate the quality of their product. Do you think this is valid?
In terms of testing, we have a field team that has an on-site testing kit which gives you instant results. But if there's a disparity, for example, if you find your site is positive for adulteration and you dispute the results, we can be able to do a retest within 24 hours in a lab. You realize the kit we use, it's a qualitative, it's a yes or no at the site. But when we go to the lab, that's when we do like a distillation process and give you a quantitative test and tell you, yes, we've checked the boiling point of this product or the flash point of this product. It is below what is recommended. And now we can even quantify, like diesel, how much kerosene you had put in. It normally does not take more than 24 hours.
Not too long ago, if I recall well, there was a plan by APRA to harmonize prices across the country. Of course, we appreciate right now whatever you're paying at the pump in Nairobi is not the same as what you're paying in Mombasa. How far are we with this agenda?
I would say that this also was covered by the cost of service study, and they studied various markets, including Ghana. Ghana has one of the best price equalization funds. And you realize this is a mechanism where consumers, for example, what we are using in Kenya today is called a cost plus mechanism. So the further you are away from source, the higher the cost, because we are taking the landed cost and putting the distribution cost across the chain. If you do an equalization fund, you'll find consumers closer to source will be subsidizing consumers who are far away from source, like Mandera, for example, will be subsidized by Mombasa. So basically, the consultant who did the cost of service study looked at the markets like Ghana. Ghana has something we call the UPPF, which is called the Unified Petroleum Price Fund. So this is a fund they have created to make sure that, yes, if they unify the prices across the country, because what now matters is the transportation cost. The transportation cost will also be uniform in terms of when there's an equalization mechanism. So the transporters who incur additional cost, if they are transporting further from source, there must be a mechanism for recovering and compensating those transporters. So basically, yes, as per the pricing mechanism we have, the consultant said the equalization fund can work, but there needs to be put mechanism to ensure that the system works in a transparent and a more efficient manner so that we don't have people illegally benefiting from those compensations.
Skeptics of this attempt will tell you that perhaps we are being too ambitious, and the reason is, even if you look at the example you're giving, we all appreciate that Ghana is an oil exporting country. Of course, they have the bandwidth, if I could say, to take up some of these funds. They even had fuel subsidies for a long time until 2014 when oil prices crashed. Do you think we're being too ambitious with this attempt?
I think since we've not made up our mind on an equalization fund, we're just studying markets to see how this system works and what are the drawbacks and how we can be able to overcome those drawbacks. So a decision has not yet been made, but at the time that decision will be made, then basically we'll be able to address all those issues. We'll listen to all stakeholders, including lobby groups who probably might think we are too ambitious or the system might be abused, so that we can put mechanisms to counteract those kind of shortcomings.
As a director for petroleum and gas, the LPG is a very critical segment of your domain, and I imagine we had regulations coming up not too far back. How is the market response to this?
I would say that the market is very good today. We've moved from a per capita consumption of LPG of 2.2 kilos per capita in 2012. Today we are talking of 6.4 kilos per capita. Initially we had less than 5 million cylinders in this market. Today we are talking about 13 plus million cylinders, and of course our ambition as a country is to reach 18 million and a per capita consumption of 10 kilos per capita. So basically, in terms of LPG storage and filling facilities, today we are talking of 90 facilities from less than 10 in 2009. So basically, I would say that yes, regulations first, when they come in, there's this tendency of people to resist rules, and they think like these regulations have come to victimize them. But we've been able to come to the people, especially who are doing illegal refilling. We've been able to explain to them that the purpose of regulation is, one, basically to foster safety. And the moment consumers realize that your brand of cylinder is safe, and it, of course, it is affordable, because the more players we bring to the system, the higher the competition. So it's able to create confidence to consumers. And you can see now people are taking new cylinders. We have over 80 brand owners. So I believe the reception from the market has been very good, and we are going great heights with LPG.
If you speak to the market players, they will tell you that one of the key challenges they face, particularly the mainstream ones, if I could call them, is the issue of theft and rebranding of these cylinders.
Yeah.
Does this fall in any way under your domain, or is there anything that can be done about this from a regulator standpoint?
One of the requirements that we put when we came up with the LPG regulations is the aspect of tracking cylinders. You as a brand owner, you have the responsibility of making sure that you track your cylinder across the supply chain. Because most of the time what used to happen is that if, for example, an explosion happened today and your brand of cylinder is on that cylinder that has been affected, most of the players would tell you, this cylinder, I don't know. I have never filled it. It has been in the illegal market. So we have made it mandatory for you to track those cylinders, either using QR codes or using even our radio frequency IDs. Any tracking mechanism that you can put that is traceable along the chain, so that you are able to know where your cylinder has gone to from the filling plant, who is the wholesaler who is handling that cylinder, who is the retailer. Now we are licensing retailers, and who actually is even the transporter. So once we have that traceability, this accountability, and of course our inspectors are out there checking these cylinders to ensure that yes, you have proper documentation where you got your cylinders from. So I would say it's a matter that concerns us, and of course we are advising players, when your cylinders are stolen, please report to us. We can also assist with the help of the police to be able to identify where this theft is occurring.
As we wrap up, Engineer, when the pricing regulations for petroleum products came into force in 2010, we were talking in an environment where the price of a barrel was at about $100. We are now speaking about prices which perhaps we would never have imagined would be functioning in this global market. Some would argue that perhaps it is time we allowed the forces of demand and supply to really dictate the retail prices. What would you respond to this?
Well, we are creature of the stakeholders themselves. I would say that regulatory instruments are not created by government per se. They are created by, one, maybe the market will kind of give us suggestions that this is the standard we want. Or, for example, the political class, for example, would say that yes, this free market is not working for us. So basically, as long as we know there's no market failure, because the reason why we came in to regulate prices is because there was market failure. At that time, I remember there's a time the barrel went to $147 per barrel, then it dropped to 45. And what the market did was only to reduce the price by 10 shillings. And that is a market failure, because you are supposed to respond in a symmetrical way to the movements in prices where you are sourcing your products. So as long as the aspect of market failure can be removed, or we are convinced that the market now is working in a perfect mode, then we will be able to come in and tell our stakeholders that yes, we think we can deregulate the market.
And that point by Engineer Edward Kinyua takes us to the close of our conversation on Business Redefined tonight, where we have been focusing on pump prices and the regulation by the market regulator. Of course, we welcome your views as far as this is concerned, and we continue to monitor them online. Up next is the Markets Review.
Markets Review, proudly brought to you by Business Daily. More possibilities.